what I will talk about, however, is when I started working on this book. The first idea came from a British man called Dr. Shillington, or Shilling, what it was? Shillington. A man called Dr. Shillington came from UK some years ago. It must be like 20 years ago or something like that. And he said he wanted to write a book about our struggle. Because me, I didn't have the time to write it. So he said what he would do is interview me, make a tape recording, and write the book himself. Working with one of my staff called Anyogonya, Elizabeth Kanyogonya. So they sat me down and I told them what I told them. They recorded it, and then I gave them the title. I'm the one who gave them the title. These church people like His Blessed Ntagari do not accept my religious credentials. They think I am a mere worldly person, but after I'm very deeply steeped in religion. And I may have taken Ntagari's job earlier than him. If God had not given me another assignment, which I went to do. So, because of this teaching of religion is very important. Because all these verses, I have not read them in the last 50 years. But the early years of the religious instruction, from 1953 to roughly 1959, those 7 years of scripture union every morning, all those verses got stuck in my head. So when they asked me what would be the title of the book, I'm not aware of the title. Because these verses are always in my head. How something small can become big. That's what was in my head. When they asked me, what title should we give the book? I said, you call it Sowing in the Mustard Seed. Because of that image, which Kayawale was one of our reverends, Reverend Kayawale, was always reciting in very good voice those verses. So I gave them all the title and the story. Then they went and wrote it in their own way. When I read, there were some mistakes and so on, some mix-up, but the story was coming out. So I said, because I don't have the time to do it myself, okay, let's get this. So we launched that Mustard Seed, the one we launched that time. And I did not get time again to go back. Until about 4 years ago, when I was visiting the United States, maybe 3 years ago, not so long ago, I met President Obama, then I met the other ministers of America whom they got as secretaries of state. And then I met a general, I've forgotten his name. I think his name was like Spicy or something like that. Huh? Dempsey, okay. So that's why I was calling it Spicy. Because there was a Y at the end. Dempsey, I think that was his name. When I met him, he was they call him joint chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The one who is chairman of the American commanders. So when I met him, he said, thank you very much for writing. I've read some of your books. I said, which ones did you read? He said he had read Sowing the Mustard Seed. So I said to go back and read it, see whether somebody who's totally new like that one, if he reads it, whether he will really get the message. I read it, the message was good, was there, but I decided to write it myself. And the reason I decided to write it myself was that I didn't want any deviation, any mix-up. But I also had I have another problem. The writing of English is in a big crisis in Uganda. We used to have something called English grammar in the schools, where we would learn the mechanics of how to write. But apparently, at some stage, some of these wonderful people, they took the view that you didn't have to know the parts of a car in order to drive. In other words, that you could drive even if you didn't know the gearbox and the internal parts, that you can drive. So they say, as long as you speak English and you write, doesn't matter how you write. Very dangerous. So, when you read some of these briefs from these ministries and these places, they are really. And I had some problem with Dr. Shillington when he was writing, but I just kept quiet. When I was being taught English grammar, it was sacrilego. This is the Catholic word for sacrilege. Sacrilege. To put a comma before and. I went to Kampala, comma, and I held the meeting. In our time, this will be sacrilege. Why do you put a comma before the and? Because you remember the and is, they call it a conjunction. A conjunction, it is the glue. It is the glue between the two actions. I went to Kampala and I held the meeting. So the two actions are together. So why do you separate them? But when I tried to, they said, no, it doesn't matter. It's here. So I just kept quiet, because I didn't have time to fight that battle. So this time here, my daughter from Kenya, the girl from the Mugiso of Kenya. Where is the Mugiso of Kenya? You come here. There are Bagisu in Kenya. I don't know whether you know that. There's a whole group of Bagisu. Mure, Uriel, Makwa, Waina, Makwa Mara. So, I found the disease had spread to Kenya also. So I said, no. This time I must write my way. I don't want anybody to put anything. I don't want any editing. Because when they edit, they just destroy. They destroy. So I agree with these children here and their boss, whom I spoke to on the phone, that please, you leave me, let me write my way. So, thank you so much. 1 year. So then I said, how was the name of our Prime Minister? Zibambi. You remember that name? If you don't tie things properly, if you don't tie the story properly, how will it be appealing to the consumers? So I had that problem. First of all, the substance itself, tell it exactly the way it was. Because fortunately I was there all the time. I was not told I was there. So why not tell the story myself? Then the manner of telling the story, the English, the way you write it in English. Now, finally, I also had some little problem with, I wrote a Rinyangori Jiga, thesaurus, and I did it with Professor Muranga, and Moshabe, and Alison was. Now Moshabe is there, and Alison was there, the other guy. Again, I had some little problem with my partner, because in their linguistics, they try to put rules and this and that, but these rules, I am worried about them, because I don't want Linyankore to die. These children of ours don't know Linyankore well now. So we who know Linyankore must preserve it for them clearly. So that when they get out of their hallucination with English and all that, they come back, they find a product which is easy to resurrect. Now, in their linguistics, they say, because you see, these Bantu words, sometimes you need to put a double vowel, two vowels, consonant, the consonant and the vowels. Sometimes there are words, if you put a single vowel, it has a different meaning. If you put a double vowel, it has a different meaning. Now, this linguistics of Makerere people now involve some rules. They said if a word is preceded by ng, nga, you should not put double vowels. I said, how will somebody know, somebody who doesn't know the language? They said, you will know from the context. But the one who knows from the context is the one who knows the language. What happens with the language like Hebrew, which was dead? Hebrew had died. Then when these Jews came from their meandering of 2,000 years, they came back and resurrected the language which was dead 2,000 years. Who will be there to know the context? Because they are saying, don't put the double vowel because it is preceded by ng, nga. You know that ng in our Bantu dialect. Don't put the double vowels. You will know where the double vowel is or single vowel is from the context. But I don't know the context, I don't know the language. So how will I know? For instance, I have one word here. Kutungra. Kutungra is when you feel feverish. That's the kutungra, natungra. That is a single U. There's the other word, kutungura. To develop. So now, somebody who doesn't know, if you write them both as a single U, the way they are writing now, somebody who doesn't know the language, how will he know? So this book is also a resistance movement. Against the two groups. The destroyers of the English language in Uganda and the destroyers of the Linyankore language in Uganda. The attempted destroyers. So I have insisted, please, even some people tried to say, please, I said, no, let me write the way I want to write. You can call it later on, seven version, whatever you call it. But let me write the way I want to write. So that's why here I insisted it was the substance, to make sure that really the substance is clear and ambiguous, because I'm clear. I was there, and there's no reason why we should not have the clear story. But secondly, the manner of English writing, but also some of the few words I use there. Then in the book, one part deals with the Banyankore way of life, which I thought also should be covered, because the old people are going away. It's not good not to know how their ancestors were living. So I used my growing up in that society to capture it and write it. Of course, I also wrote about the school time, the struggle, the victory, the recovery. All those are there for you to read. On this occasion, I asked Dr. Uganda to be the one to make the comments, because he was a man. In 1971, we formed a committee of 5 from NASA committee in Kampala. We formed it here in the house of Akena Pajok. Akena Pajok was one of our people. He was an engineer in UEB. He was living in Colorado. We formed that committee of 5. Now, one of the 5 was Dr. Uganda. He was still a student, but he was a member of that committee of 5. I was on the committee. Akena Pajok was also on the committee. I do not write the other 2 because I don't remember them very clearly who was. There were many comrades, but I was not sure about the other 2, because we had, whether Kauruza Kasada was one of them or what, that one we shall sort out later. But I thought Dr. Uganda is one of those people who were there from the beginning. So, as you heard how he was commenting. Now, one other person I must thank is not a Munyankore. She may be Ugandan now, but she's a white person by name of Addison. Addison, what is the other name? Putier. Oh, I always mix it up. That film you saw, for us we had no time to take films, photographs and films and videos, we had no time. But she came to the bush and took those films. And I'm very grateful to her. She's now a millionaire in the islands there. And I pray that she becomes a millionaire, more millionaires and billionaires. I thank you so much, Addison, because I don't know where the other people like Pike. Where did you put the films you took? You are still steel, not films. So you are the only one. Oh, and thank you so